Hello. I'm excited to finally be back on the air with you guys. It looks like being consecutive Thursdays at 3 p.m. became a little bit difficult for us here at Breaking the Chains. But then again, that's just the nature of human trafficking. In our field, emergencies and other situations definitely take precedence over our live broadcasting. But nevertheless, we wanted to still be able to address some of your questions and some of the concerns, and as well as talk about some of the current issues that are going on here and here in particularly with Breaking the Chains, and also be able to share some insight for some of our clinical partners who have been asking about some of the therapeutic approaches that we have been utilizing here within Breaking the Chains and with some of our survivors. And so what we've decided to do is we will go ahead and be video blogging once a week. So you can go to our website, www.btcfresno.org, and from there you can check out some of the local events that are going on, as well as click in, and at your discretion, at your leisure, of course, watch our video blog. Again, we thank you for your support. It is your support that makes the difference in everything that we do. We are really excited. Covenant House is open and flourishing. Our women are doing great. And we are already at a point where we are reaching capacity and looking for new ventures and new areas to begin our second home. One of the things that I actually want to move right into is some of our therapeutic approaches. It's a question that we've gotten a few times. We were sent an email just a couple of weeks ago by somebody who had seen our video and was asking about the different types of trauma-informed models that are being utilized here within our organization for human trafficking victims versus some of the therapeutic models we're seeing in like the domestic violence arena and other sexual assault units. And so one of the basis that I'd like to talk about today, and I think I might be picking this up for the next few months, so definitely if you want to share this with any of your clinical partners, I encourage you to. Definitely encourage you to reach out and let others know how they can actively get involved in the healing process for these individuals. We actually had a group earlier this morning, and one of the topics that we talked about is actually one of the first bases that we cover in our trauma counseling or our trauma-informed groups. And one of those is that you are not responsible for being down, but you are responsible for getting up. Now that may sound kind of harsh, and we always tell our girls be careful because there's going to be a lot of ouch moments in here, but ouch is good. That we are healing, that we are beginning to uncover and unwrap old wounds and begin to allow those wounds to heal properly and appropriately. And that's exactly what it looks like in the life of someone who has been seriously traumatized, is they have very deep scars, very deep wounds that did not receive the proper treatment, they did not heal properly, and thus continue to cause problems in their lives. I use a lot of analogies, so you're going to get used to that. So with that, what we let them know is that in a lot of cases, as a victim of any type of human trafficking specifically, or sex trafficking, or sexual assault, or violence, we are not responsible. We are not responsible for the situation that occurred. And that really is across the board. And we really want to stress that because, again, I've said this before and I'll say it again, is a lot of times our women struggle with feeling that the situation is their fault, feeling that they somehow brought this upon themselves, the choices that they made, and albeit that they were foolish and let some young man, young woman, or circumstance coach them into a situation that allowed them to be vulnerable and exploited sexually, it is still their fault. We human beings use ignorance and foolishness and what the world calls stupidity, and we attach blame to that, and typically we own that blame. So with this, we want to release that from them. We want them to realize that they are not responsible for the situation that happened. However, they are responsible for their recovery. They are responsible for their healing. And we break that down into several different ways, one of which is to talk about, for example, if it happens in my life and I am physically abused, regardless of the situation, if I mouthed off, if I was around somebody I shouldn't be around, regardless of the situation, just like we teach our children, you don't have the right to physically harm another individual. I am not responsible for the physical hurt. However, I do make a choice when it's over to begin a healing process. Do I stay in that situation? Do I, even in the moment, do I stay laying down on the ground and continuing to absorb the wounds and the blows and the situation as it is? What is my next decision? Because it really starts in that moment and then it ripples out. Start from there and let them know that they do have the power. They have the power to recover. They have the power to make the choice to heal. They have the power to make the decisions that are necessary for them to move forward. And that is really imperative. That's imperative in breaking down the mental manipulation that has entrapped most of these victims for their entire life. Is that victim mentality, is the mentality that, again, this is their fault. They cannot change. Somehow this is their choice, or the label that is either self-imposed or has been imposed by society or their circumstance upon them. So I'd like to read from you just a little bit of the curriculum that we covered today, which is recovery is a choice. So it is not something that happens without making it a choice. It is a choice. When you choose to recover, it also means making another choice. And that choice is to do the work that's necessary to get the results. Sometimes people don't understand what it means to make a choice, or they may not even know that they have one. Choice. What does it mean? It's a decision. Recovery is an option or alternative to being sick. People don't recover if they don't make up their minds to recover. And that is so important for our young women. And this is so important that they need to know that is not something that myself, my staff, or any other therapeutic party can do for them. It's something that they have to do themselves. We can walk beside them, we can guide them, we can encourage them, we can be on the sidelines of this race cheering them on. But every step under their own strength, and it's something that they need to do. And that's very important, because healing will not occur without that. Choice is a commitment to yourself, and you must commit to yourself to get results. The action of the will is necessary to carry forward the choice to its future result. For favorable results, the will must act freely. Everyone was born with free will to make choices about their lives, to make choices about where they live, where they will work, career choices, whether to get married or to stay single. And sometimes people choose the latter. You could even choose divorce. Act freely for favorable results. Recovery cannot be forced upon anyone, and we want to ensure that that is not happening. But for you who are watching, that this freedom is given back to them. And I truly believe that for individuals who have been entrapped in sex trafficking, this is imperative for them. Often religion, structure can seem oppressive. It can seem like more of the same type of situation or scenario where I'm being told what to think, what to feel, how to do things. And so naturally a defensive wall will be built up, and that wall can become impenetrable and definitely a barrier to treatment. So it's really important that, I think, once they grasp this, they begin to own that healing process. And this is why it's one of the core values that we instill before we even begin treatment, is we want them to own that decision. We want them to realize that this is your choice. Now, have had a choice, again, in what happened, and we want them to understand that so they can break that shackle. But know that this healing process, this race that you are running, this is all you. People with mental illness must be told that recovery is an option they can choose for it to happen. It must take place in an environment that makes it possible for the people to succeed in, right? This is huge. A lot of individuals are exploited based on their mental health needs and the needs that, or the issues that have occurred in their childhood that have resulted in later on in life. And so this is huge, huge. So many of our women, I would say, of our women have some degree of mental health issues, and a lot of these are not they were born with. These are issues that come from long-term trauma and PTSD. One of the things I love, and I know it may be hard to see, and we actually have a big, I'm going to put it right up there so you can see, and we have a big sign that we're hanging in the classroom that says, people don't recover if they don't make up their minds to recover. Here, if this is not something that you want to do, which again is really hard. It's especially hard when we're talking to families and we're doing initial assessments, because sometimes we can want it more than they do, and we really need to be able, again, to get the survivor to a place where they are taking ownership and taking action in their recovery. Recovery process engages people in training their will by repetitive choices and some very simple actions as one recovers. More complex choices and actions. In the early stages of recovery, some of the simplest actions must be chosen moment by moment. Right? This kind of goes with stinking thinking. If you haven't heard about it, you're going to have to follow along with one of our other videos where I will elaborate on that. But it's so important, right? Our thought process is definitely habitual. Exercising freedom of choice and action that the healing process takes place. In time, it becomes habitual. Habits are formed through the use of our will. Habits determine our patterns of behavior and are acquired by frequent repetition. One of the things that we go into, and we'll actually be going into next week with our ladies, is filters. Is everything, every decision we make is based on an internal filter. The experiences that we have had in life have shaped those filters. And so that's really important and very critical whenever you're dealing with a victim of human trafficking, again, specifically sex trafficking, is to know that their experiences have shaped their thought process and the filters in which they make decisions and the way they see the world. So sometimes when we have them in front of us, it's so easy to judge and to say, well, this is obviously a decision that they are making. She's sitting in front of me and she's telling me that, you know, nope, nobody's ever pimped me out. Nope, they didn't take my money. That was my boyfriend. This is what I wanted to do. No, I like this. I started getting high. So and it's real easy as organizational leaders and as community members to see that initially, and then to really, again, I go back to what you guys have heard me say time and time again, break that stigma of prostitute versus victim, when again they're one and the same, is because they are seeing their life through that filter of experiences. So if my experiences have told me that my body is a means of support and survival, my body is the means by which I establish relationships, then I'm going to filter my thought processes about, did I do this willingly or unwillingly, my choice and my own. So that's important, because again, sex trafficking and really eradicating it and helping these women to effectively heal means that we go deeper than what we see in front of us, that we really begin to ask the tough questions, that we begin to examine the thought processes behind what has occurred in their life. And so we want to help these women clean out those filters, and we want to help them begin to reestablish healthy filtering systems so that they can make better decisions and better choices and become right and happy and healthy and mentally stable. So this is all extremely important. So again, I'll move on for time's sake. So recovery was defined as to know when you need help, self-responsibility, and accepting oneself's right where you are. And that can be in faith, belief, action, affirmation, auto-suggestion, and of taking any type of personal inventory of what is going on inside of you, and to know you have the choice to do it. That is so important. Again, we are a public charity with a faith-based option. I myself am very much faith-based. I love Jesus Christ with all my heart and soul, and I believe that he is the author of every story and my healer and redeemer. However, it can be oppressive if I force that upon the women who come through the doors here. If I begin to tell them that this is what they need to believe and this is what they need to see, and they're wrong if they don't. Because again, their filters are how they're processing everything that comes, to give them the ability to make their own decisions, and recovery is that first step. Choices take conscious effort. In this process, there isn't anyone that can make this conscious effort other than the person who needs to make the choice and who wants to recover. This is why people who are in this choice process and who are making the choices about where they will work, career choices, whether to move, whether to stay, whether to start the recovery, number one goal in life, right? Find out what it takes to make you happy and chase after it. Success has been shown to follow those who dedicate their time to pursuing happiness in itself and the choice-making process. So one of the things that I think is really great, and I'm going to actually skip over one part again for time's sake and go into one of my favorite parts about this, is talking about to make the choice to be happy. It is so easy, again, filters, where we move into next week, for us to look at our situation and filter it through all this muck and negativity, and so we lack the ability to be happy. With this, it has been scientifically proven that happiness is a choice. One psychological theory suggests that every individual is innately instilled with a happiness set point, and that ever constant oscillation around this point determines our mood level. When something positive happens in our lives, we experience great happiness. When something tragic happens, we experience sadness. It is an equilibrium, and it is constantly being reset as we go through the ups and downs of inevitable daily motion. Of course, our happiness is not completely within our own control. If it was, we would likely be thrilled and euphoric all of the time. In fact, only our mood is within our own control. The remainder can be determined by a slew of contributing factors ranging from upbringing, genetics, daily interactions, and environment. And so, as it turns out, we actually have quite a bit more say in the whole happiness puzzle than we think we do. The discovery of any one individual, it has been said, is that mood can be drastically altered simply by a change in attitude. So here's some of the practice that we set up for our ladies for this week. Is we want them to practice 15 minutes a day, kindness, patience, which has all been scientifically proven to enhance overall happiness. And for all my fellow Christians, isn't those some of the core principles that Christ teaches us, right? The fruits of the Spirit, that if we will just meditate and practice on these things, we naturally begin to just wellspring of life, and that begins to mature and grow. And so we ask them to focus on that in different areas. And we have various activities and worksheets that we have them working on to help to enhance this ability. Because again, we want them to realize that regardless of the situation, many of these women are estranged from their children and from families and are dealing with some serious PTSD issues and traumas, that they can refocus, they can redirect, they can make a choice to elevate their mood. Does that mean they're going to be euphoric all the time? No. Happy all the time? No. The range of emotions that we experience as human beings was gifted to us for a reason. So the biggest tragedy I think I see is not this broken spirit whenever a woman is before me and just broken and crying out, which but it's very beautiful to me. It is the disassociation where she is unable to feel anything, where the trauma has become so deep, there is almost no ability to feel to empathize. Really, that it almost always manifests itself in extreme anger. And yeah, so for us to know they have this pendulum that they can control, that can be controlled based on their thought processes and the filters that they're using and what they choose to focus on, is huge, because we are to regain emotional control within their life so that they can process all the things that are going on and happening, again, so we can change those filters. One of the final steps for this week was choosing to cultivate an attitude of gratitude, right? So important that we are thankful, that we begin to look at the positive things in life, because it plays back into the happiness. If you don't have anything positive to look, how do you achieve? How do you attain those happy thoughts? So we want them to also begin to focus on the great things: health, having a place to live, having redemption, new life, new opportunities. And that's also done through some of our treatment planning and goal processes that we set before them. So again, obviously this was a very brief recap of one of our classes from today that we will be actually bridging off of for the whole rest of this week. But again, I hope it's helpful. I hope that you guys see this and you guys can, you know, follow along or begin to cultivate within your own organization and whatever way that you are working with victims. May that be in a social services department, child protective services, a domestic violence shelter, or your own organization, and begin to really ask the tough questions. Because again, unwrapping the manipulation, the mindset, and the trauma that has occurred is, and it allows these women to be, and children to be empowered to make better decisions, to not fall victim back into the same vulnerabilities. So again, I thank you for all that you're doing. For more information about events, please visit our website. You can also go to Central Valley Justice Coalition. Just put that in your Google bar. They are really great about keeping up with all of the local events and things that are happening. We thank you again for your time. Check in weekly to see what new information we have, and I hope that this has been informative. Like and share so that we can get the word out and so that we can begin to just take this beyond right here. Because remember, together we are breaking the chains. I really appreciate your time. Have a great week. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. Now if I can find my mouse, we'll be out of here.